All right, today's demolition day. Let's get rid of some stuff that needs to go, and look at kind of where this is going on this side between where we stopped the tracks and into the old city. Let's take a look at what we got to tear out and kind of what the grand plan is for all of this area. So this is the area we're talking about today. Um, and a little bit of this is a little bit bitter, bitter like sweet. This was one of the first kind of areas that I worked on when I first built the city, and was kind of like the first area that I really mocked and made from my own brain. All of this was kind of there. This I borrowed, so I didn't really think too hard about that. Maybe I thought a little bit about the station and the steps and all that, but this area was kind of really the first area that I kind of made out of my own brain. And so it's a little bit bittersweet that I have to tear this out, but at the same time, progress is progress. And I know I can do things better than the way I did them here, especially on the support structure and just kind of the way this is. This might have even been before I started doing YouTube, but there's actually a plate discrepancy between this half base plate and the road. And it's just all kinds of things. At one point, there was like a 2-plate difference between this side and that side. So at some point, I fixed that. But there's lots of little kind of underlying things that, like, I know that that kind of bother me a little bit, because I know I can do better now. And so I'm not terribly sad about pulling it out, but, it is kind of a little bit sad that this is one of the kind of defining features of my original city. My original 21 base plate large city, that's now over 120 base plates or somewhere in that neighborhood. So I don't know where all these things are going to go. So I have I forget what this is called, but it's a little sweets shop. This is kind of like a little ice cream shop, little carrot truck, and a little flower store. I think they are all mostly on plates that I'm just going to be able to pop out and leave together. Maybe they will go over, gosh, this is such a mess. Maybe they'll go over in this area. Maybe that back little corner where I don't know what I'm doing yet. But I don't know. Maybe they'll find their way in here somewhere. Or maybe they'll go into a new project that isn't even started yet. That's always what's kind of fun too. So I'm not going to trash any of that or to completely disassemble. So I'm going to just put them in a box for now, and maybe an opportunity will present itself that they are needed. So that's all going to get pulled out, and even this little corner piece is going to get pulled out, because I'm going to flip this switch around the other way, which I just ordered switches today, so hopefully they'll be in soon. So I need to clear this out so that the switch can run right here parallel to this wall, and then make its little path around. All of this needs to get ripped out. Again, this is also going to go into a box, because this might go down there in that little forest area. In fact, that's probably really likely where it's going to end up. So I need to keep that all together. So that's probably going to go down there. This is that awesome gift with purchase from, I don't know, probably about a year and a half ago now. This is the more recent Majesto's workshop. Is that what it was? Anyways, there's just some cool forest type sets and castle related. So maybe they should go with my castle stuff. I don't know. But these are just going to get put in a box with themselves. And like I said, we'll probably, truthfully, end up down there in that forest realm. But might get pulled out to my castle stuff. I don't know. So that's kind of this area. So this is all getting pulled out, but not ripped or destroyed. So demolition was probably the wrong word. But we're going to pull all this out, get this all cleaned out, get it down to just the bare plate. And then over here, again, this is going to get pulled out. That's going to get pulled out. That's actually just sat there for funsies. And I got to rethink this whole kind of setup. And what I think is going to happen is I'm going to just basically raise this part up to the height of the other one. So it's going to stay kind of this wide kind of width of thing. And, you know, the waterfall is still probably going to happen right there because I don't want to change this little, like, this little cutout thing because I really like the kind of, like, contrast and kind of contour of it. And I also really like this kind of offset thing. So I thought about just straightening this whole thing out, right? And I would actually gain a half base plate over here. And, you know, maybe that is the right thing to do. But I think having this kind of offset by half of a base plate is kind of cool because it kind of breaks up the squareness of everything over here. And so if you remember, the jazz club fits right up in here. And so I kind of like the unevenness of all of that, rather than it being like jazz club, right? Like all square with the wall, square with everything else. I think having it offset really kind of breaks things up. And I think once I get this out of here, I think opening up this area will make it feel less crowded. And then obviously pulling this back because it's going to be more of a cliff face coming down across here. And in fact, it might even come back even further into here. This might all just come off and just kind of be, this might be just kind of open maybe. And so this still needs to be here because the train station is going to be here. That's going to be how you get over the river to go to the train station from this area. So I still need to leave this kind of here, but maybe this whole thing shifts down a little bit so that it's kind of like, this is the, this matches the front little part of the jazz club. This is the front little part of my 8 wide extra sidewalk. So maybe I pull this down and instead of it being a spiral staircase, it just stairs down there right to here or right into this. Or maybe I leave it kind of as is and just let the spiral staircase pull into this area instead of back here so that I gain a little bit of room. And so that's definitely an option as well. I think my best option is probably just going to be to somewhat start from scratch on this. Mostly because I don't want to be like kind of retrofitting things. But kind of keep the same kind of style and look, definitely. Because I like the style and look of it. It just needs to fit the new parameters, if you will. And so a lot of this is already in pieces, actually. They're just the kind of bridge walkway thing is kind of the only thing that holds all of the pieces here together. So pulling that all apart is not going to be too terribly difficult. And we'll start kind of fresh. I don't want to say totally fresh because I'm going to keep a little bit of it. So anyways, first thing's going to getting all these out of here. This was a great idea at the time, but now that I have to dump them out, I'm not looking forward to that. But anyways, let's go ahead and get some of this stuff carefully packed up into some boxes for later and get started. All right, it's all removed. And what I have come to realize is that I have a little bit more space than I originally thought I did. Obviously, I'm going to need to lay out some track just to be sure about my measurements or what I'm thinking is going to be okay. But what I'm currently thinking is, I know I said I was going to keep that offset this way. But I was thinking, now that I see this all out like this, I wonder if I couldn't make up that offset down here. So I'm going to do some weird base plating here, which is fine. I can make that work. I mean, that's nothing super weird, but I can make that work. So that, let's see here, where are we at? I think the jazz club would start right there and go down. And that way I could have kind of the waterfall river thing kind of wrap around this way. I think that might be super cool. And then that gives me a little bit more room for brick cross, but especially more room for the train shed, which I think is probably going to be beneficial because I think that's going to be a little bit bigger than I am anticipating. And so I think having a little bit more swinging room for that would be good. But also then that means I can pull, I think, brick cross a little bit further front than I was originally thinking. because I can have this scoot out this way and make a quick little like do-si-do turn, and then it might get me across to the front here in a little bit different manner than I was expecting. So I'm going to need to kind of play around with that a little bit. I have more track coming, and I'm wondering if it's actually enough. So that might be a problem. But we'll fix that later. But this will at least get me closer, I think. It's the double rail thing that along this length that I didn't that I just didn't account for. But anyways, so yeah, so I'm gonna need to kind of think through that a little bit more. But I think I'm gonna start probably over there with that, getting that roughed in, and at least getting what that might look like first, because I think that's gonna be a little bit more critical than this over here. I also really think I need to wait for the switch to come in. I need the flip side of the switch before I can really kind of lay this out. So let's get that roughed in and see where this is going to go. Just kind of visualizing what this is going to look like in my head. And I think what I'm going to do is actually probably more of a change than I had originally thought. I am going to, so as you can see, this is about a half base plate. In fact, this is a half base plate. Once this is slide, it's actually, I'm about 2 studs that way. So once this is actually in place, this is a half base plate. And so I think I'm going to maybe try to get all of the river kind of on there and coming straight out and down, and then let the waterfall kind of come this way. And so the rock work will kind of wrap around this corner here, and then come down and then come out the edge like it did previously. Jazz Club will sit here, and then we'll go across, like I mentioned before, sitting that offset this way rather than this way like we did before. And then that way I can actually put a little like picnic area or maybe some little shops here next to the train station, because I think that'll be kind of a fun little kind of break up to this, and then gives a reason why there's a little bridge and all that. Because I need to make room for kind of this to happen. Originally, I had not put this in here, but after I uncovered all this and realized there was more space here than I thought, I'm thinking this pulls me a little bit further forward, and therefore will make this transition to over there a little bit easier, actually a whole lot easier. And so kind of changing this area up a little bit, but separating the station from this a little bit, I think makes sense. And then I'm also wondering if I need to maybe make a little path to go up here, maybe make access to up here. I don't know, probably not, to be honest. I kind of want a distinct kind of break here, that this is kind of a separate part of the city than this part of the city, but I want this station to service this part of the city. So I'm thinking that that's kind of what it's going to look like. So I'm going to kind of rough that out a little bit, and maybe this does need to be a full base plate up here and, you know, split half and half across. But I think the more tighter I keep this side, and the kind of tighter I keep this side to this, the more space and kind of openness this happens for the little train yard in the back with the train shed and the passing rail, and then the station up front here and its kind of surrounding areas. I think kind of the more space I create for that, I think the better this is going to look overall. So definitely a little more work than I thought it was going to be, but I think this is going to be better in the end run. And you can see, I got my passenger train that's been hidden underneath my city for a long time over here because I didn't want to knock it off the track and then have to dig all the way back there for it. So it's here. And by the way, it is actually this entire city block long, because right there's the other end. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of, sometimes I don't remember how big that train actually is, or how long that train actually is. All right, I'm going to rough this in and kind of figure out what I got going on here. Okay, so here's kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm at a little bit of a conundrum. And let me explain kind of what my problem is. My problem is that I like to keep everything modular so that if something needs to come apart, I can. And this is especially important when dealing with trains, because you never know when something's going to jump jump the rails or something, something's going to go wrong. And I'm going to need to pull this apart to get into here maybe, or, you know, way under there. And the problem with this, with the whole staircase the last time, was that it was all one kind of giant piece. Even though I built it in modular sections, once it was all done, it was all kind of one solid piece. And, you know, which was fine because it was kind of stuck between two things and it was never going to come apart or have to be moved. This is a very different situation now. And so I am trying to address this issue. So I'm currently stopped right here at the wall, which is a base plate and a half back, okay? So now I'm trying to decide two things. First, where does that kind of sit with all of this? Like, do I stick the half base plate back here and then have this kind of weird little thing? Do I use a like quarter base plate back here? And then I guess right about there is where that would sit. And then do another half base plate here. You know, what does all of that look like? And then while I'm going through all of that, I also have to keep in mind that I need to get this kind of staircase to come down around like this. So basically, you know, I need this to come kind of down here, land here, and then let me build another bridge to go back across to go over here. And so I don't know if, you know, does this look like a linear kind of straight down thing? I think that looks super boring. So like, do I need to kind of like zigzag? Come down, you know, go over, come down, go back, down, but then that puts me in the middle here. So I'm kind of trying to figure out those things because there's a lot to think about and it's not an easy thing to fix. What do y'all think about the river? Let me know in the comments what you think about the river. It's a little different than what I did, but I actually kind of really like the way that this turned out. And you kind of see what I did. These are all just cheese slopes kind of stacked randomly, which was really hard. I put a 2-plate kind of base and then stuck these wedge plates over top to kind of frame it all in. I think it looks really good, actually. So I'm kind of happy with how that turned out. So yeah, I'm going to think through what I'm going to do here and let you know in a minute. So another cup of coffee later, I think I have been going about this the wrong way. So if you remember, I changed up my track diagram a little bit when I got over here and kind of just went with it because I thought it was better, but I think this will actually work out a little bit better. And so I got this pretty close to this base plate, but not too close. The backside of Brick Cross actually has, the like rail piece that goes up against the rails actually snotted on. So if I need to extend it, I can just add some extra plates in there. That was one of the nice things about, I actually built that part of Brick Cross when I was at Brick World. And so I know that I can extend that to make that gap the ideal gap. So awesome. Secondly, I think this needs to just kind of happen just to get me further front. Again, I'm trying to make as much room back here for the train shed as possible and that rail passing along the back side. And so now I need to kind of figure this out. And I think what I got stuck on was that this needed to stop here. And I think that's the wrong assumption here. I think I actually probably need to do a full base plate width rather than a half base plate. Get me out here and then go straight down. And then so this can come across the top here like this, kind of flat, maybe working a little bit down to base plate level, because, you know, I got a little bit of ways to go there as far as grade, if you will. And then have it come down and go across. Oops, sorry. Down and go across. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It sucks because I got to rip all that crap up again. Or maybe not. Maybe I will just make it a separate piece and tack this on here. Actually, that's probably what I'll do, because that might make things a little bit easier going forward as well, because that is all one piece. So anyways, so that's where I think I'm going to go with this. I'm going to jump on making up some things, kind of mocking that up and see what we got. All right, here's where we're at right now. Got the river, got the waterfall. I think what I'm going to do is eventually I will pull these out and replace these with some 1x1 round studs maybe. I'm definitely going to put some lights behind here. So there's actually a, you can't really see, but there's actually a hollow space back there, so I can put some lights behind there. I think that'll be super cool. What do you think about the river? That's what I decided to do for the river. I think it looks pretty good. You can see I kind of pinned it a little bit together. I'm going to hide all that, of course. But yeah, so now that I've got this kind of in place, and I have place for this as well, place for that as well, I can start to kind of figure out what this kind of stairway bridge situation kind of looks like. So yeah, luckily this will all kind of be one piece. So I'm kind of thinking that this will just slide in here like this, and the support will be for on this side as well. I'll probably do a tile so it just slides right into there and sits on it. Yeah, my goal is to get to about ground level by the time I get here. So probably a little platform here and then steps down, maybe platform again, and then steps down. I am hoping to reuse this piece to kind of be the final, like, down to the last little spot. So hopefully that will all work out. I've got all the other kind of pieces kind of saved in various spots and different kinds of arrays of stuff. But anyways, so I think I'm going to work on that next, and go from there. Everything is legitimately a mess, but I think I got this roughed in enough that I can continue working on some other stuff around it. I'm going to probably spend a couple of hours or a day cleaning up, because there's just stuff everywhere. And it's kind of hard to work. I need to break some of this down because I could really use the parts. And so I think I'm going to maybe hold here. I might work on the railings just real quick because I do have those parts kind of built already. So I might throw some railings up quick and then kind of hold there for a little bit. You can see I kind of got the supports on here. It's really similar to the way that it was built before. It's flipped this way. Before you came down and went this way and came down, it's just kind of flipped over. In fact, these are the exact stairs that I used, and so is that. I ran out of masonry, sad. And then just this is a little bit longer than before, and this is much shorter than before. So I think this works pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Something else I ran into was, and this is something that I've been afraid of for a while, and it actually happened. When I was trying to fit this piece in, because this is in fact a separate piece, and it does pop off. This is just jumper plated in there. And so I kept coming up with a stud too long, and I could not for the life of me figure out why. And then I realized that this entire thing had shifted this way by a stud, or this way by a stud, one back or forth by a stud. And so that's why I kept coming up one stud short, which hurt my head for a very long time. But anyways, so I got that figured out, which was great, but annoying that it happened. But anyways, that took quite a while to kind of clean up. So anyways, yeah, well, I'm going to throw up some railings, I think, because I got a lot of the parts kind of thrown around here. And instead of picking them up twice, I'd rather just go ahead and get them on here, because I know about where they need to go, and go on from there. Okay, I got the railings at least started. I got the area a little bit more cleaned up. I kind of actually saved a couple things. Like, I saved some of these railing parts because I know I still have railings to do. I just pulled all these into one because I know that that's going to happen soon. Same thing with these. So I kind of kept some parts together that I knew. I didn't put all this away because I know I'm still going to need like some of that to work on all of this yet. So I put a decent bit away just to kind of help with the clutter, because again, I don't have a lot of room to be really tripping over things. But this is where I'm kind of stopped for a little bit, just to kind of work on something else. I find that if I had, like, this was literally an all-day project. And so I find when I spend all day on one little area, I need to kind of move away from it to a different area for a little bit. So I don't know what that is, but I threw the trees up there just because they were in one of my buckets. I wanted to get them out. And I think the trees probably will go back in here. I think that these like tall, thin pine trees look really good against the dark gray rock. So honestly, these trees will probably stay in there and probably be a little bit back here as well on top of the tunnel. Because there's going to be a little bit of rock work around the tunnel as well. And then kind of rock work to kind of enclose all of this. And concrete tunnel. So it'll be like, there's going to be a lot of gray here. So I find that putting those like tall, skinny pine trees kind of help break that up a little bit. And all that. There's going to be lots of foliage kind of down here in this area. This is where, actually I put this on the wrong side. This is where the train station will sit. So I'm going to kind of rough in about the sidewalk to go up there, because actually I won't need this because we'll need to get a sidewalk down there. And I'll get this finished up at some point. Again, I just need to kind of take a break from this and work on something else. There's plenty of other things to do in this room right now. So I don't know what's next, but I'm happy to have got this done. This is kind of step one of getting this area kind of figured out and back together. Really getting around some of these train stuff is really going to be kind of the key over the next week or so. I have lots of parts coming in, so I'm also kind of waiting on some parts. I luckily had some forethought to actually order more of those snake pieces. I don't know what like possessed me to order more of the snake pieces. I'm talking about these for these railings. So they're actually coming and should be here in the next couple days. So that will finish that up. And then I think once I get the tunnels in place, then I will run the wires for lighting and do all the lighting stuff and all that. I need to order definitely some more of these tops for this because it's a little bit different than what I normally do for lighting. But really liking where this is going. And that's where I'm going to stop for today. And we'll be on to a different project next time. Thanks, y'all.